Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker has proven to be a bit divisive among fans, but in an alternate universe, they were divided by a totally different movie. George Lucas had his own plans for the sequel trilogy before selling Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012, and it's safe to say that his conclusion of the Skywalker saga would have borne little resemblance to the film we got. A key piece of information we have concerning Lucas's vision for the 9th episode of the main Star Wars series comes from Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, in an interview the star gave to IGN in March 2018. Now that Rise of Skywalker has been unleashed on the world, there is new context for his remarks, and it's interesting to take stock of how the creator's plans shifted due to the involvement of new creatives and unforeseen circumstances. Specifically, Hamill noted that while Lucas had indeed planned to kill off Luke, he didn't intend to do so until the end of Episode 9. You'll recall that Luke essentially sacrificed himself at the conclusion of Star Wars: The Last Jedi in order to allow the besieged remains of the Resistance to escape the First Order onslaught on Crate. In Lucas's version of the sequel trilogy, though, Luke would have had another order of business to attend to in the next film, training his sister Leia in the ways of the Jedi. In his talk with IGN, Hamill lamented that this narrative thread was, quote, never played upon in The Last Jedi, even though that film, the only one of the sequel flicks to be co-written and directed by Rian Johnson rather than J.J. Abrams, was reportedly more in line with Lucas's vision for the trilogy. Of course, it goes without saying that Fisher's death in 2016 resulted in Leia's role in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker being greatly diminished. Although given Lucas's affinity for CGI, it doesn't necessarily follow that this would have been the case had he remained in charge. It's pretty easy to pinpoint some of the other major ways in which Lucas's sequel trilogy would have differed from the one we got. For one thing, they would have centered on completely different characters, as Rey, Poe, Finn, and Kylo Ren were not his creations. Yes, Lucas did intend to bring back Luke, Leia, and Han Solo, but in regard to Rise of Skywalker in particular, there's one returning character from that film that would not have made the cut in Lucas's version. This would be Ian McDiarmid's Emperor Palpatine, whose controversial return was Abrams' idea, and whose comeback McDiarmid recently admitted to being blindsided by, for a simple reason. Speaking with Digital Spy, the actor revealed that Lucas had no further plans for the character, at least not in terms of the film's in-universe chronology, after his apparent demise during the climax of Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. McDiarmid said, "I thought I was dead. I thought Palpatine was dead."
Because when we did Return of the Jedi and I was thrown down that chute to galactic hell.
That would kill someone.
Yeah, and George said, I said, oh, does he come back? And he said, no, he's dead.
McDiarmid went on to say that he had accepted his character's fate up until the prequels.
In a sense, he wasn't dead because we went back to visit him when he was a young man. But I was totally surprised by this.
We can also glean from Lucas's own remarks that while the iconic principal characters from the original trilogy would have played a major role in his version of the trilogy, the focus of the plot would have been slightly more esoteric than Disney's. In 2018, a quote from the companion book to the AMC docuseries James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction made the rounds online, and it revealed that Lucas had at one point been prepared to take the story in directions nobody could have foreseen. The director explained, "The sequel films were going to get into a microbiotic world. There's this world of creatures that operate differently than we do. I call them the Wills, and the Wills are the ones who actually control the universe. They feed off the Force. If I'd held on to the company, I could have done it." Given many observers' gripes that the Disney sequel trilogy suffered from a lack of overall cohesive vision, Lucas's version may even have proven to be more satisfying for the franchise's fans. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.